Hello, and thank you for tuning in to Starting Small. Today, I'm joined by Karl, Paul, and Arlyn of Rein. You guys, thank you so much for taking the time to join me.
Glad to be
Thanks for
here.
having us.
Thank you.
I just mentioned off call, but this interview is really unique because I've never done three panelists in this style. So just to give the listeners some heads up, Karl and Paul are co-founders of Rein, and then Arlyn is current CEO, sitting CEO. So the conversation is going to flow primarily starting out focusing on Paul and Karl, the friendship growing up prior to the brand, getting into the founding story, and then we'll roll into what the brand looks like today. So if we can kick things off, Paul and Karl, kind of growing up, I know you went to school together later on, but what did upbringing look like for the both of you guys starting out?
Yeah, Paul, you want me to kick it off, and I'll turn it over to you. But I grew up in San Angelo, Texas, West Texas, where actually Rein is headquartered. I'm a seventh generation Texan. Grew up in a family with deep agricultural roots. I think that's important because it taught me a lot of lessons, a lot of values, and also hard work. I grew up playing sports, which I think is that's where the competitive side of me was developed. Love business and commerce from a very, very early age. Also really loved building relationships. Saw the benefit of that from a very young age. And really saw early on how that's really how things get done. Like I said, grew up loving business and commerce. Had a yard mowing business in high school, and I'm not sure. I wasn't sure in high school and college what an entrepreneur was, but a friend of mine's dad was an entrepreneur, and I knew I wanted to be just like him and do that when I met him and saw kind of his life and his interests and what he was doing, and so that really drew me to be an entrepreneur.
Incredible. Well, yeah, Paul, if you can share a glimpse on your side as well.
Sure. Yeah, so I grew up in the Houston area, moved to West Texas middle of my freshman year, and I think that's one of the first lessons that I take with all the stuff that I have done in my business career, and that's when times are tough, you got to dig in deep. And we knew not a soul. My friends, this is back when you wrote letters, would write letters, and they still to this day. I have some of the letters that they were asking if we rode horses to school in Midland, Texas. Which is hilarious, in the 90s. But like Karl, relationships are something that I value deeply. I think you build bridges because you never know when you're going to have to walk across them. And so that has helped me tremendously in my career. Sports, football, all those things have obviously, from a team, competitive, collaboration standpoint. I went to, as Karl mentioned or was mentioned earlier, we both went to A&M, and I had to work my way through school. I mean, I didn't. Some people have different situations, and mine was such that I had to work. And so, at an early age, I knew how far a dollar had to go. And so that's why I bring that with every business that I've been a part of, because cash is so critical, especially early on. And well, I'm sure we'll get into that. But I have an identical twin brother, and so one thing that has truly helped me is just bouncing ideas off of someone that you really trust. And when we were kids, we did that. And then growing up now, he's still somebody I talk to all the time, outside of Karl and Arlyn as well.
Incredible. Well, I, as you guys mentioned, really hard workers at a young age, had some interest around the concept of entrepreneurship, but getting into school, what do you guys study? Now, you both mentioned that's where you connected as well. What led you to go to A&M?
Yeah, I went to A&M. A neighbor of mine wanted me to do petroleum engineering, and I talked to. It's funny, I'm in the energy business now, but I talked to some of the deans at the School of Engineering, and a lot of them didn't think oil would be around for a long time, and so when I heard that, I decided I was going to go in the liberal arts college. I majored in political science. Really thought my dad was an attorney, so I really thought I would be an attorney as well. But I think my uncle was a lawyer on Wall Street, and he really persuaded me to look into investment banking. And so that was my first job out of college, was doing investment banking after he recommended that.
And
Yeah.
then,
So I,
yeah, if you can kind of
oh,
paint the
go.
picture, the same question to Paul as well, and then we'll paint the picture and like how you guys connected at that point.
Sure. So when I went to A&M, my degree, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I really liked geology, the sciences. And it's funny, a family member as well convinced me, that, oil in 1998, 1999, when we went to A&M together, was at a very low, it was $8 a barrel. And so a lot of people's sentiment at the time was probably more emotionally based than long term. And so
Mhm.
they're like, you just whatever you do, don't do oil and gas. I was like, well, I like psychology. So I got into psychology and got a minor in business. But I really do, again, and that really goes back to the value of people. Your business, you can have the best idea in the world. If you don't have a business, or if you don't have the right people in the right places, it will have a hard time succeeding. Not that it can't, but you
Mhm.
finding those right people. I mean, Steve Jobs talks about it a lot, just the power of paying up for someone that's going to give you such a exponential return. And so I
Yeah.
learned that at an early age. I went through, so what paid my bills in college was Walmart. And I was I was working in a cart boy, pushing carts and taking care of stuff to get things in for the customers. And I was
Mhm.
reading Sam Walton's book, Made in America. And I'm not kidding you to say like that. Arlen's heard the story when we met with Walmart. That changed my life on business. And it just his
Mm.
whole perspective of the customer, cost, managing cost, and really surrounding yourself with people that are better than you. So, I mean, Karl, much smarter than me, Arlyn, way smarter than all of us. I mean, it's like it's an example of what you have to do to be successful is the people around you. And so, psychology gave me a good insight into that. I mean, I stopped at the undergrad level, and I was done with college at the time. I was ready to go to work.
Yeah. So Paul and Karl, what did that look like for you guys, like connecting with each other? As far as I know, free reign comes much later, but as far as like the early days of connecting friendship, what did that look like?
Yeah, we connected right after college. I was friends with Paul's wife in college, and so when I actually went to their wedding. Didn't know Paul then, but knew his wife
Wow.
Shell, so went to their wedding, and then when I got married, our wives became friends, and we became friends, and so just kept it. We both lived in Dallas right after college, and got to know each other. And then Paul moved to Midland, and I moved to Midland several years later, and so. Just had a lot of things in common. My first job out of college, like I said, was energy investment banking. It was an unbelievable first job for me. Really learned business, finance, accounting, how to raise money, mergers and acquisitions, and I think probably most importantly, a work ethic, because I
Mm.
did have a strong work ethic, but coming from college when you're trying to, struggling to take 12, 15 hours a week of classes, and then you go into an 80-hour a week job. Anything after that's easy. So
Yeah.
that was a great first job for me. And like I said, anything after that was easy. But that's where Paul and I started becoming friends, and just started bouncing ideas off each other. And we didn't really team up on anything until 10, 15, 20 years later, but just
Wow.
start developing a relationship.
Yeah, I mean, we could have a podcast really on, I mean, that timeline there, but kind of getting into, we can jump towards free reign, like that direction there. You mentioned 10, 20 years later. At what point, why did you guys reconnect to have a business idea? And like, what was that mutual interest to get towards free reign? I'm curious at that time.
Yeah, I think it was really just a friendship, and then some friendships you just trust each other more than others, and I think doing business with friends can be challenging, but if you're like minded and have a lot of same interest and all that, it makes it a lot easier, and we're both wired pretty similarly, have complementary skill sets, and so we've gotten a few different, in Midland where we both lived. There's a lot of deals that are passed around, and we looked at deals together, invested privately in kind of non-operated passive type investments, and then we started looking at some things to do together as Paul was leaving an opportunity. I'd sold my business. I had a non-compete in oil and gas. I really couldn't do anything in the oil and gas space for a few years. We were looking at passive investments. One of the things that I was looking at, or actually ultimately did, which another one of our partners, Aaron Marquez, started a tequila company called Flecha Azul. That is, Mark Wahlberg's the celebrity in the face of that company. So I partnered with him on that. I really liked the consumer product goods space. It's really interesting to me. Paul and I had been on some investments together. I had discovered a little coffee shop in San Angelo that roasted their own coffee, small batch, handcrafted type coffee, had a cult-like following. The product was excellent. Nobody really disagreed on the product, but they were kind of bootstrapping it and really didn't have the capital or the network to get it out past West Texas. And so they approached me about buying it from them. I didn't really know what to do with a small coffee shop. And so I started having conversations with Paul because we'd looked at a lot of stuff together, had conversations with Aaron, given his background and doing celebrity back brands, and my wife as well. My wife's actually the one that came up with, she said, if you're going to do a celebrity back coffee brand, and this had a really rustic Western type feel to it, she said, you need Rip from Yellowstone. And so I called Paul immediately, said I had the best idea I've had in a long time. He agreed, and we started, getting, and that's probably one of 20 times that it happened. And most of the times you run into roadblocks, or you lose momentum, or something happens where, you just ditch that idea and move on to the next. But this one was interesting because we just kept gaining momentum on it. We used our network to get a hold of Cole Hauser, Rip from Yellowstone. He was all in from the first phone call we had with him. He was amazing. One of the things that all four of us, Aaron, Paul, Cole, and I, all come from very different backgrounds, but we do have a few things in common. That's we dreamed big, we worked hard, and we'd all reached a point of success based on those core tenets and values. And we all love coffee, and we love what coffee stands for, that it brings people together, and all that. So, that's my version of the story. Paul might have a little bit different version, but that's my version of it.
Yeah. No, I love it.
No.
Paul, if you have something to add there.
Oh, no. I mean, I think I'd synthesize it this way. Winners find ways to find each other. And again, I go back to the people that you surround yourself with. Karl and I have always connected. It's the minute we talked to Arlyn for the first time, we got off the phone call and we said, we are going to do something with Arlyn. We don't know exactly what that is. Hopefully it's going to be free reign, but she is a person that not only is intelligent, knows her stuff, but there's just factors, and you interviewed hundreds of people. You wrote a book, that there's just people, and a lot of it, it's like the talking about this today with Arlyn, the Raising Cane's founder. It's grit and toughness and the willingness to never give up. We said from the very beginning, failure is not an option. We have to do whatever it takes to succeed. And I think I saw that in Karl's business. He saw that with me. And honestly, I think some people think of failure, even if it does happen, when I say failure is not an option, but when it does happen, use that as a stepping stone to your next success, because there's so much to learn and it's not just about making money. I mean, we'll get into, there's so many things we could talk about. It's what are we doing that's going to leave an impact that our grandkids are going to be proud of? Most people don't even know their great grandparents' names. I asked Karl that the other day, and he did. And I'm like, well, not many people do. But then you go to the great grandparents, So how do you leave something that makes an impact? And Karl and I that's what we ended up doing. We do things that's going to be a little bit different. We're not just here to just get a buck and go. We want to do something that's a little bit more impactful.
Yeah,
I love it. And
funny story from the first time I met Karl and Paul, just building on what Paul was just saying. I met them through a branding agency called Preacher that they had hired to do the branding for Free Reign. And the first time I met them, I knew they came from oil and gas. I had never met anybody that worked in oil and gas. And these guys, know everyone in oil and gas, and probably didn't know a ton of people in CPG. And so I was kind of a little sassy, like, guys, this is not going to work. This is going to be so hard. And what was striking to me is a lot of entrepreneurs, they would be deterred by that. And they would be like, oh, I don't want to do a business that's not hard. And their reaction both was, yeah, we know. Are you in or you're not?
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that's what attracted me
Yeah.
to working with these guys, is they knew it was going to be hard and that wasn't scary to them.
I love it. And just to listeners out there, I want to make sure that we don't like just stroll over Arlyn's introduction either. Like really, if we can kind of jump into like Arlyn, like your past, also joining Free Rein, like what did you see in Free Rein, and then also you guys as well looking at Arlyn, like bringing her on the team, like what was that synergy between Arlyn, the group, and then Arlyn? What was your point of view in Free Rein, like when you joined? Because I mean, you have a heavy CPG. I know Walmart's brand incubator you launched All's Well, so if you can just tap into that, because it's a critical piece of the story as well.
Yeah. So I'll speed through. So like Karl, I didn't know what an entrepreneur was, but I knew I wanted to be one. I've started, scaled, sold a few different businesses, and I've probably touched 20 different, consumer facing, not all CPG, but consumer facing businesses in my career. Most recently, I was at Walmart, and I learned about the power of, retailers, not just DTC and e-commerce, but brick and mortar retailers, and how scalable they can be, and really how to navigate and be successful in those types of environments. So post Walmart, I was doing some consulting and some board work, and that's where I got to see 15 brands come through and be a part of them. And what I was really missing was the ambition that I had when I was starting All's Well, right? All's Well is such a massive brand, plays across probably 20 categories today. And when we started, it was a super crowded space. Nobody thought we could make headway in the mattress in a box space. There were 150 other mattress in a box brands at the time. And the team of people we assembled were the kind of people like we have at Free Rein, undeterred by a challenge, super ambitious, and really motivated by swinging for the fences. Really, like, I was a tennis player in college, and I'm much better at the tennis game. It's a game called 105, where you get 10 points for a winner versus 1 point for, just winning a point, like a clean winner. I really like to go for that home run. And so that was what was attractive to me about Free Rein.
I love it.
I tried the coffee, and I was like, how good can coffee be? And I was like, wow, this really is better than the other coffee I was drinking. And I was really impressed with not just the guys on this call here, but also Cole, who's one of he's not just the face of the brand. He's a founder. He's a true founder. He's really principled about how he wants to be involved, principled in that he wants the brand to be mission driven, right? That's more important to him. Having an impact is more important to all of our founders than, having a legacy is more important than a quick exit, right? And so
For sure.
that kind of focus forces a kind of discipline in how we run the business, and a freedom to run the business in the way we want it to be run. And so I hope that answered some of your questions.
Yeah,
for sure.
I'll pick up there too. So where I left off was that we found Cole, and the rest was kind of history. And so we went and made the acquisition of the coffee shop in San Angelo. The name of the coffee shop was Longhorn Coffee, which Paul and I are two Aggies, so we could not live with the name Longhorn Coffee Shop. So we had to first order of business was to find a branding firm. We found what we think is one of the best in the business, Preacher out of Austin. They do a lot of the household brands that everybody's familiar with, High Noon and Yeti, and a lot of those groups. And so we found them to rename, rebrand, come up with something that resonates with our customers, how it looks, messaging, tone, everything like that. Spent a year doing that. I think, like Arlyn said, that's when Paul and I realized how great of a partner Cole was. Cole was on every one of those calls. He was super involved. A lot of the taglines, a lot of the messaging, the way it looked, were Cole's idea. He's one of the most creative, as he's an artist, and he's super creative, one of the most creative people I've been around. And so, everything that we set out to do, I think we did with that brand. And so we did that for a year after buying it. And then we were trying to launch, develop the supply chain and trying to launch, 6 months later online, and then, try to get into retail. I think became pretty apparent to Paul and I, two oil and gas guys, that we really had no idea what we were doing in the CPG in the direct consumer space. And so we set out to, go hire the best management team that we possibly could. Preacher helped us with some of the introductions. Arlyn was one of the first. She came on board kind of as a fractional chief marketing officer, and within a few weeks of working with her, it was super apparent to Paul and I that we need to hire her full time as the CEO and let her build a team and go execute. So that's the story of how we brought Arlyn on.
Amazing. So that's a good segue there. So at the point for Arlyn, or your point of view here, when you joined the team, so as a coffee shop, acquired coffee shop, at what point did the brand do a D2C changeover, e-com? So it's a rebrand at this point. So what did the existing brand look like when you joined? And then what were those first initiatives?
So Karl, Paul, Cole, Aaron, they get full credit for building the tenets of the brand. They did that with Preacher, and that was partly what helped me see the vision for what they had here. So where I came on it was pre-launch, and it was developing the channel strategy for how we were going to roll this brand out. And so we already had this coffee shop in Texas. Best practice, go start D2C and learn who your customers are and learn what's selling. And so we launched online DTC in fall of 2023. We had a pretty explosive out the gate run, fueled by a lot of press. I won't go into the catalyst for some of that press right now, but really strong product market fit out the gate. People really liking the coffee, really strong repeats. And it was one of the fastest product market fit I've ever seen. Probably, weeks, not months, until we understood what was resonating, and we were, obviously the product was really strong, but I think, Karl and Paul say they don't know a lot about CPG. Me, who does, I was like, there's no space in the coffee market for another brand, but they saw something that somebody who was so close to it couldn't see, and that was there really is a void in the market, both in terms of the product and in terms of the brand. So we launched online in fall of 23, had such strong traction out the gate. We were able to secure a ton of retail distribution in brick and mortar for 24, which is our first full year of operations. Wow. And we ended 24 with almost 10,000 points of distribution, which was pretty wild for a first year brand. And really what I'm most proud of is that it's an omni-channel brand, right? So we sell at our coffee shop, we sell it on our own website, we sell it over 2,000 stores nationwide. And we also have 120 locations across the country through our partnership with HTO that sell handcrafted free reign coffee, right? Handcrafted beverages. And we're adding more channels every day. So it's just one of those businesses where the TAM is so big, and we're really focused on elevating everyone's coffee in wherever they drink it.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. If you can kind of clear the water, anyone on the team here. So like mentioning the point, like, is there room for another coffee brand? Like when you joined, or when the brand launched, what was it that it was so product market fit? Like what was it at that point that differentiated from all the other brands that were on the market when you launched?
Paul, you want to take this one?
Yeah. So, I think one of the core values of our company is get up and get after it. And I think that when you look at all the coffee companies that are out there, there's some that focus on mission, there's some that focus on the coffee, where the highest caffeine. We felt like the spirit of America wasn't being truly captivated in the encouraging of the single moms, single dads, firefighters. It's not just serving people that have served not just in the military, but serve every day on the front lines of hospitals. And so the entrepreneurs that are out there that are listening to your podcast, or that you're going to encourage, it's those people. Coffee is where you start that day. is generally
Mhm.
where you start that day, and it brings people together. I mean, I can't tell you the countless conversations I've had of people that I don't see exactly the same viewpoint on certain things, but it has brought us together to talk about it. You go to the coffee shop to meet somebody, or you're out somewhere at a ranch hunting or hanging out, and you sit around a campfire and you're percolating a cup of coffee or a pot of coffee. So what the main fit that we saw was there was a huge gap that was needed to be addressed with American pro. This is what built our country: toughness, grit. It doesn't matter where you came from. It doesn't matter color of your skin. None of that matters. What matters is that you're an American. That's what draws us together, and that's what we're
Yeah.
going to
Mm.
continue to be.
Yeah,
I love it.
let me add one thing to that is the product's great. Is we got a premium product, and we started out. I think a lot of the brands that I'm familiar with, whether it's coffee or alcohol or whatever, they go build a brand and then they go find a product. We found the
Mhm.
product that had
Yeah.
been tested for 20 years by the couple that we bought it from. They had been perfecting it for 20 years, and we found that product and then built a brand around that. And I really do think
Mm.
that distinguishes us from a lot of the other CPG
Yeah,
products.
that's right.
Yeah. 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 I mean, as you mentioned, I've had a lot of founders on the podcast, and it does typically revolve around building community and then finding a product. So I don't find often like perfecting a product or an existing product. So if you can share maybe like what was it like in the early days acquiring new customers? So you had a brand that's been established here locally, like within a region, but acquiring customers, maybe D2C, taking that existing product that was already launched.
Yeah. Well, this is, Cole's best asset to us is his creativity, but it doesn't hurt that he's a celebrity. And
Yeah.
so we had the good fortune of Cole getting to be on the Today Show on our first day, on our launch day.
Wow.
And that was a really amazing way for us to get the word out on, in the very beginning and get us our first cohort of customers. Now, the
Yeah.
product is what helped the company grow because people tried the product and then they liked it and then they kept coming back.
Mm.
And what was really resonating to people about the brand, in addition to the product, was the mission, right? So for
Mhm.
every bag of coffee we sell, we give a cup to somebody who serves their country or their community. So Paul
Mm.
listed, it's active military and veterans, but it's also nurses and teachers and firefighters and policemen and
I love it.
policewomen as well. And that was really resonating. So I think that was leading to people sharing the
Mm.
brand with folks that they know and care about.
Yeah, it's incredible. So getting into the celebrity back slash celebrity founded brand. So just to give some background on myself, I actually was part of the founding team at Mosh, which was founded by Maria Shriver and Patrick Schwarzenegger. It's mission driven protein bar formulated for brain health. So really strong product market fit within the celebrity founder. Same thing with Free Rein within Cole. And then I've seen the opposite where like celebrity backed, celebrity founded brand, they tap in at the beginning, they're tapped out day two. But I was looking at like what Cole does for the brand, extremely invested in. It's in his Instagram bio. As far as like a strong ambassador within a celebrity founded brand within Cole, like what does that look like for tapping into his audience and then tapping into maybe his background? What is he also like maybe doing as far as an ambassador point of view? If you can share that.
Yeah. Well, first of all, what's most important to Cole is the mission. And
Yeah.
so making sure that we are giving back to organizations that are important and do good, right? So of course the Buy a Bag Give a Cup is important, but he's on the board of Special Ops Warrior Foundation. And so making sure we involve them. We're doing an event in a few weeks and he said, I'll only come if they're involved, right? If we can help them
Yeah.
too. Southern Cross Service Dogs, Wounded Warrior Project, Tunnels to Towers. He gives his time to those organizations. And so he wants to make sure that we also support those organizations as well. Of course, he's, wearing the merch wherever he is, whether it's in Africa, flying a plane over, death defying, aerial stunts or, at a football game with his daughter, in Florida. He's riding for the brand in that way. And he's also our creative director. So, it's not like we see Cole once a month. Like, we talk
Yeah.
to Cole multiple times a day. He's weighing in on the details of the business, from I don't like the angle in that photo to, copywriting the captions.
Yeah. It's amazing. Getting into some of the retail expansion, omni-channel expansion in early days, it's very unheard of to hear some of the expansion that you guys have seen. So as far as that goes, like how did that play a role within, like, as far as retail goes, how did something like that come about? So thousands of doors quickly. I'm curious, how did you tap in? Where did those connections come from as well?
Yeah. Pretty interesting and different than how I've seen other brands grow.
Mhm.
In year one, we had 4 different, maybe 5 different brick and mortar retailers, and they all came in different ways, right? Some came bottoms up. We went in through the buyer. We pitched like any other brand. Others came top down. We knew somebody senior there who liked the coffee, and we asked them to deliver it to the buyer.
Mm.
Long-standing personal relationships. Like, it came in every way. And in fact, we all took bets on which way was going to work best. And I think the answer I would say is they all work. You have to pull out every tool in your toolkit, and so that's how they all came in
Yeah.
different ways.
Yeah, totally. So as far as the split there, anyone from the team, as far as like omni-channel e-commerce, what are you seeing primarily is the main demographic overall, the main consumer?
People that like good coffee.
Yeah.
I'd say if you look at the coffee market in general, the fastest growing part of the coffee market is premium, right? So when COVID happened and people were no longer going to coffee shops, they tried to start learning how to make good coffee at home. And so that's where Americans got the taste. They realized that there's a difference between, opening price point coffee and a more premium coffee. And so, geographically, our customers are everywhere. If you look at the best, interest groups that our customers are really interested in, of course, Yellowstone is one, but, country music fans, people that have family members or friends in the industries that we give back to, those who serve their country and their community.
Mhm.
So it's really it's a national brand in ways that I wouldn't have expected, given how Texas rooted the visual imagery is.
Yeah, for sure.
One thing
As far,
I'll just add, Cameron, if I could, real quick, is
please.
coffee doesn't get the amount of credit that it should. When you look at wine sommeliers and how much people sit around and go visit vineyards and do this, and I know it's a little bit more accessible in the United States, but coffee is grown by unbelievable farmers that have been doing it for hundreds, if not thousands of years in places like Ethiopia, which is Yirgacheffe is my favorite coffee, all the way
Mm.
down to Colombia, to Guatemala, all these places that are so important, and there's so much rich history. And then you get here and it's like, this may be my last, I know this is getting, but what you're not going to just go enjoy the cheapest wine you can buy. Maybe you will, maybe
Yeah.
you will, but for the most part, once you taste really good wine, it's hard to go back to a wine. Or it's the same with coffee. To Arlyn's point about the premium, once you've tasted an Arabica bean that's roasted the right way, and that people truly have put time and effort into it, it's hard to taste other coffee. When I travel, I
Mhm.
literally travel with my own coffee. And sometimes you find it, sometimes you
Yeah.
don't, but it's the same way with wine. Some people go to a restaurant and they want to bring their own wine. And so that's something I'd say, that we want people to take that chance to trade up to a more premium, but approachably premium coffee that they can drink and then enjoy, because it may be
Yeah.
your last cup of coffee. We don't know. So why not enjoy something
Yeah.
really good?
I love that. And that's an important note, because I'm seeing that too with a lot of, I mean, people that I know. They're getting tired of the conventional brands, especially around coffee.
Yeah,
It's something most people who drink coffee consume it every day. So, like, why not have a brand you really enjoy?
exactly.
People are tired of the old and they want the new. So as far as like sourcing wise, you guys found an incredible product that was existing through the coffee shop. But how do you kind of tap into that, like that story within the consumers and potential consumers?
Say the question again in a different way.
Yeah, so maybe like how do you tap into like the coffee? Like if I'm gonna drink free reign today, like I want to know like how it's sourced, where it's coming from, some of the kind of the background. I know you tap into the story behind the mission driven, but like how do you kind of grasp onto that as well?
Yeah.
The product
Our,
itself.
you know, given who we're talking, we're not necessarily talking to coffee snobs who care about single origin or those kinds of
Yeah,
things. The most, we're talking to people who really care about the way the coffee tastes. And so
yep,
that's really what we focus on, is less the origin and how it's sourced, although we do care about that, but what
for sure.
customers care more about is what does it taste like? And not like bergamot and berries, right? Not like
Yeah,
hard to understand tasting notes, but it tastes like chocolate or it's dark, So that's really
for
where
sure.
we focus is hearing what our customers are saying about how it tastes, and then refining how to say that in a way that makes it people
Yeah,
understand what they're going to get.
no, totally. As far as rolling out like a new product, I know there's a few offerings on the site. What does that process look like? So, say a new flavor, you want to launch a new flavor. What does that maybe R&D process, the taste testing go as far as like a team point of view? Curious, like what involvement wise, what does that look like rolling out something new?
Yeah. Well, we're so blessed to have such a big customer base on direct to consumer, right? Because they can be our research group, not
Yeah,
just them at home, but we have 121 locations across the country that are serving customers every day. And so
wow,
we really rely on those brick and mortar locations. Like we were developing a new flavor actually, and we had two versions of it that the team couldn't decide between. So we had San Angelo brew both and, give out free samples to customers and see which one the customers preferred. And one was overwhelmingly the favorite. And so we went with
I love
that.
it.
So we have a lot of ways to collect data from D2C. We do, post-purchase surveys, and we, all sorts of things there. We can use our social presence and community to get data that way, but real life feedback on the product is what we've found is the most effective.
Yeah, I mean, taking that into account, can you maybe depict what the best seller might be right now, like flavor wise? I'm curious where consumers are shifting.
Well, I'd say most unexpected top seller on the site is our flavor called Texas Pecan. We
Hmm,
thought maybe that would be like a Texas focused flavor, but nationally, it's one of our top selling and top repeat flavors.
amazing.
And also, we recently launched an espresso called Get Up, and
Hmm.
so it's rising in the charts very, very, very quickly. Personally, it's I've switched to Get Up. It's one of my favorites, and you can brew it like a regular coffee, but you can also, pull espresso shots from it. And
Yeah.
it's doing that. And Paul, I know you're drinking Buckskin these days.
Yeah, it's really good.
Buckskin's our new light roast that we just recently launched.
Incredible. So as we get
Carl, what are
towards
you
the end
drinking?
here,
Say that again.
Sorry, what are you drinking these days? Texas Pecan?
Yeah, I'll have a American Dirt in the morning, which is Cole's brand or his flavor that he developed, and it's he wanted it to be as dark as he can without burning it. So he spent a lot of time on the actual R&D of that, and so that's his coffee. So I drink that right when I wake up, and then my second cup is always Texas Pecan.
amazing, amazing. So just one last follow up before we have our concluding wrap up here. As far as the mission goes behind the brand, it's I know a huge aspect of free reign. So if we can kind of just jump into that a little bit, donating cups of coffee, like what that looks like, and then the importance of the mission behind the brand.
Yeah. So, the benefit of scaling quickly is that we're going to have a pretty big impact on our mission this year, even though we're just getting started. So our goal this year is to give away 500,000 cups of coffee. And we do
It's amazing.
that in lots of different ways. We go to events with tunnels to towers, and we brew coffee, and we give away hundreds, if not thousands of cups at a location like that. We give back, we stock fire stations and hospitals, and we stock them with bags of coffee. And then we
Amazing.
also do, gift boxes for things like we worked with oh my goodness, Squared Away, which employs the spouses of military people who are deployed. And so for Mother's Day or Father's Day, we do gift boxes to folks like that. So we have fun getting creative on how we do those donations, but the scale of it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's
and
amazing.
one other thing too that we've done that I think is a little bit different, and also I think is part of our success is from day one, and from my business background, you want to be well capitalized, and you want to make sure that you don't ever run out of money, because sometimes these ideas take longer to develop than you want it to. And so we had a lot of friends and family come in and participate in a meaningful way to help us capitalize the company after year one. So we've got 100 different investors, and they're as proud of this brand as we are. And so they're out. One, their serve as a great business development tool for us. They're out running around telling the friends and the family their businesses. They have relationships at retail, and they're running around selling our product for us. But everybody's also super involved in their community. And so we're giving schools and hospitals, like Arlyn was talking about, and local sports clubs and teams and things
Amazing.
like that. So you're just, it's funny, especially in West Texas, to see it. You go to a tennis court and you'll see a Free Rein banner there that somebody had donated, or a baseball field the other day. There was a sign in the outfield that we helped sponsor. So a lot of different ways that we're impacting the communities.
It's incredible. Well, I like to conclude each episode with this, and so much, I feel like different perspectives here would be great to have an answer from all of you. And so if you can share one piece of advice with an aspiring entrepreneur, maybe something you've learned along the way or regret, what would you say that would be? Or no regrets too. I love that.
Ladies first.
I would say find your tribe, like find people you want to be in a foxhole with, because no business, as rosy as it looks when you write that business plan, there's going to be a lot of landmines along the way. And find people that when you're stuck in that foxhole, you can laugh with them, and you trust them. And that's what makes the journey, manageable and sometimes fun.
Yeah. Love it.
I'm gonna say two different things. One is I've got teenage kids, and so I'm Paul wants it. And so I'm in the middle of trying to raise teenagers right now. And one of the things I tell them all the time, and I think it's important to entrepreneurs as well, is showing up, having a positive attitude, and working hard. Like if you have those three traits, you're going to be successful more times than you're not. And so really, think that you got to have all those three things, no matter what you're doing, and you're going to be successful. I think the second thing is being in the consumer product good business. Previous to that, I was in a service-oriented business in the oil and gas space. You're going to get told no a lot. You're going to have a lot of naysayers. You're going to get rejected. You're going to have failures, but using those as learning lessons, and I've learned a lot more in the times that I've failed than the times I've succeeded, and using that as motivation and a learning experience to be a better decision maker and to work harder. And like Paul said earlier, failure is not an option. I think don't let that discourage you. Use it as motivation.
Love it.
So I'm going to say focus would be if I could say one word, mental health is very, very, very a big piece of entrepreneurship, because when you're waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the morning or 1 o'clock in the morning thinking, what did I get myself into? You have to stay laser focused. Charlie Munger says this, that get a simple idea, be real serious about it. And so I think you can get so scattered so quickly, and you see somebody with success and it can distract you from just be you, focused, laser focused, know what you're really good at, and just keep doing it. Sam Walton, he knew what he was really good at. You look at the most successful people, chicken strips, who would have thought, In-N-Out Burger, burgers. You just look at story after story of entrepreneur that was so successful. It's focus and not chasing the wind too much, or squirrels as we call it.
Yeah. So well said. Well, You guys, I really enjoyed this conversation, and thank you so much for taking the time. And to the listeners out there, make sure to check out Free Rein at freeraincoffee.com.